Guitars, welcome Season 2, Episode 2. Excited to talk this week. I have William Bennett. Some of you may have seen Will's videos on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and all the other social medias that he may have been on. Will goes through a bunch of pedals. He's got a great sounds out there. In fact, I'm really have him on the episode mostly to steal ideas from him for my own YouTube channel, so this is great. Oh, there's a buzz in the background that's going to bother me, but it's fine. It's fine, listeners. The show must go on. So, Will, appreciate you coming on, especially last minute. Will, I'm going to give you all a peek behind the curtain. I actually messaged Will today to ask if he wanted to be on the episode, and he's like, yeah, sure, let's go.
Yeah, it's more of a testament to how little I have going on in my own life.
Right? Sometimes that's just how it feels. That just ends up being the way it goes. Or sometimes you catch a break and it's just, hey, I happen to have nothing today.
Like, do I lie and say I have something to do? Because I'm probably just going to watch Boba Fett later, but,
I haven't started it yet.
Oh, no?
I need to start it. No, I haven't started it yet, so no spoilers. No spoilers,
okay. No spoilers.
Listeners.
We can work with that.
But, I'm hoping that whatever is wrong with it, because that's all I've seen is that there's like bad press around it. Whatever's wrong with it, I'm hoping resolves and it's good by the end of it. We will see. I had similar issues with WandaVision, the first couple of episodes. Like, I liked them, but I was like, this isn't that great. It's interesting, but it's not great.
Yeah, it's definitely a different one to get
into. Then it got better really fast. Yeah, it got a lot better. Anyway, we are not a Disney Plus podcast. So, Will, tell us 30,000 foot view, who you are, what you do, how you got into doing what you're doing, how you got into playing guitar and music in general, the life story Reader's Digest version.
Well, if we go back, I would say I started playing guitar probably somewhere 12 or 13 years old, somewhere around there. That was more of like something to do. Like I think it was a drama teacher, had a after school club teaching kids how to play guitar. Got into it that way, and then hooked ever since. Grandfather got me my first guitar not long after. Had a little pawn shop Strat copy. Started playing. Like I got to the point with, I know power chords in the pentatonic box. Let's start a band. I haven't progressed much further than that. But I spent my whole...
do we ever really?
No, apparently not. I make a whole Instagram profile off that whole joke anyway. But, I spent my whole teens up until late 20s playing in bands and, trying to live the dream. And then gave up. And then I found Instagram.
Realized that dream sucks?
Yeah. Well, I got to a point where the band I was playing with, it was just more and more drama. And it started feeling like I was going to work, and I was like, I'm not getting paid for this. Like I could pick up overtime. I could go to work and get paid. So if I'm going to have this feeling anyway, let's make some cash. So left that band, just kind of lived my life. I guess I still am just a hobbyist guitar player. If you take away social media, I just got cool stuff in the basement and I jam on my own accord. But
it's like me. This room. This is my hobby room. This is the best way to call it. I call it a studio.
Yeah, me too.
Because we want to be fancy.
It's my workspace. But
it's funny you mentioned the whole band thing and being drama. I've played in a couple of bands where it was a band, but like the majority of my playing has been me as a front person, usually in a cover band of some kind, but usually a blues cover band. But it's always been me just hiring musicians, so I've never really had to deal with a lot of that drama that happens in bands.
Okay.
That there's artistic differences, or there's, all this other stuff. No, it's usually, which, don't get me wrong, most of my bandmates over the years have been friends. They're, I call them up, hey, I got a gig, let's go play, let's do this thing. And here's the song list, learn these, these are different this way. No rehearsals. We just show up and we play the show. We just do this. But it's me hiring musicians to play with me and not like a band.
Yeah, it's like a little less. And the thing is, with the band I was in, it wasn't even like internal drama. I actually joined as a hired gun. Like I found a Kijiji ad for a band looking to, fill a tour dates kind of thing. And
I gotcha.
jumped on that and ended up playing with the band for like 4 or 5 years. But we had a record label. They put a lot of money into an album, and then it's just management back and forth. Like, oh, it was just a whole scene. And then by the end, it was like, I think it was about 3 years after we'd recorded a record, and it was like still not out. It was like managers quit, booking agents quit, and it's like, what are we doing?
Oh God,
like,
that sounds
band
awful.
members are great, but just the whole politics of how it all works was a lot.
It is a whole lot. I've talked about this on the podcast before. My sister's been over the years close to a couple of record deals, a couple of different times.
Yeah.
And it was always a matter of, oh, they wanted her to do this, or they wanted her to be more this, or they wanted to, and it was always, she has that, no, screw that. You know what I mean? She's very, no, heck, I don't want this bad enough to not be me kind of thing, which is fine. She, turns out working in kitchens and waiting tables, and she does that for a living still and plays music on the side. And, she's put out a couple of things over the years, but there's that whole side of the industry that is complete trash.
Oh,
like that whole, God, it's so bad.
We
so
ended up in
glad I
this
never had to deal with it.
year-long loop of, well, we got to get you a good tour booked before we put this record out. It's like, well, no one's going to book a band without a record and without songs out. So one's got to come before the other.
Right.
And
At some point, you got to just get off the pot and do something.
Yeah.
That's
so I think
wild.
it's like, honestly, now at this point, it's more fun just to do something yourself and go out and make it happen, because you can do it. There's so much tools now for a band to do that with social media. But I think now
it's social media and YouTube and TikTok, and they've all changed the game and how that works. And now there's so much at home recording that you can do. You don't need the backing of a record label. Yada yada yada.
The days of like $100,000 to go into a studio and make an album it's long gone.
Long gone. You can make a record.
I could make it in my workspace, right in your studio.
Right in my studio. But it's even that, take that away. Let's say you go into someone's studio and not do it yourself. Even then, the costs have gone way down, because there are some great engineers and some incredible producers out there who got tired of the big studio, big label life, and they do it out of their own project studios or their own basements, and you can hire them for 1/10 of what you used to go into a major studio for.
Yeah. I find now these guys don't even have their own places anymore. It's just go in, you rent somewhere, you're done, and then they'll go mix it in their living room.
Yeah, no, it's wild. I was watching a YouTube video not too long ago. There is a studio in Nashville, and I wish I could remember the name, but it's essentially multiple studios, and you pay like a monthly due it's like a gym membership.
Oh, okay.
But you have access to all of their space, all of their microphones, all these things. You've paid your membership. You book when you want to go in, and that's your space.
That's pretty cool.
For the time that you've got. No, it's incredible. Yeah. I need to find that video. If I find that video, it is linked in the description or the show notes down below. If I find it, I will do my best to find it again. But it's such a cool thing. So I digressed. I completely diverted the conversation. So you're in this band, drama, multiple years. You decided, you know what, I could be doing this. I could be working a job, making money. You decide, I know, Instagram, which is like a thing now. But
yeah, and that was just kind of just weird the way that happened. It was the beginning of the pandemic. Or even leading up to 2020, it wasn't like a conscious thing. I've always been into photography. Mm-hmm. And that was something, I think I bought a camera before my honeymoon in 2019 and started learning how to use it. And then, if you go back through my Instagram before I started doing it seriously, still just guitar porn. That's all it was. I told my wife I was buying a camera for our honeymoon, and then 2 minutes later, I'm in the spare bedroom with my guitar, taking snaps. And then...
Oh, that's awesome.
And I noticed, during the pandemic, I just started seeing, engagement going up, and oh wow, that photo got 1,000 likes on it. That's crazy. And just kind of use here and there every few days. If I saw something that looked good, I saw a nice light coming in, I'd take a picture. And a few thousand followers. It started kind of building just on photography. That hadn't done any pedal demos. But I started talking to a lot of the guys, getting them into the community. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to make a demo just for a pedal I own. I'm going to take this, I think it was a full tone fuzz. I'm just going to make a demo. I had 2 weeks off of work, and I spent almost every day in my studio just like grueling away because I've never done video. I don't know how to do it. And my wife is like, what are you doing in there? Like, what is going on? I'm like, I'm making the best demo of all time. And I export it. It's 48 seconds long. I'm like, son of a bitch. I spent 2 weeks for 48 seconds. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm done with video. People can just like photos. And towards the end of 2020, I start seeing kind of behind the curtain a bit and realizing, I mean, social media, Instagram, it's advertising.
Absolutely.
Right. There was a point earlier where I wasn't conscious of it. And I started kind of saying, 20 guys got that new pedal today, the day it was launched, and had time to do a video. Interesting. And I just got to the point where I was like, I'm on here all the time posting. I'm engaging. I'm like, I could do this. It was like born of a very selfish, I want gear. Which is probably not like the most honest intention to go into something with, but started kind of pitching. So I think I want stuff.
It's probably pretty honest, though. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of the guys that started doing this, a lot of them started with that same intention.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, who wouldn't want? I'm a gear nut. Who wouldn't want stuff showing up on your door in exchange for your services? That's incredible. And my whole thing was just trying to find a way to. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. We're getting a little bit of latency. I think it has to do with the storm, actually, more than anything that's coming through.
Yeah, my thing was just try and find a way.
Super honest.
Yeah. So eventually, Mass Distro decided they'd send something and give me a trial because I basically hadn't done any video at this point. I came to the realization that companies don't care about your fancy photos as much as I want them to. Like, video is what's going to sell product.
Yep.
So, and I just started messing around, and it was like, okay, I'm not good at making. I shouldn't say not good, but I'm not going to make a full-length video. I'm not going to be better than Pete Thorne or, Demos in the Dark or all these just great YouTube gear channels. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring anything to that table that's going to be worth someone tuning in. So let's find a different avenue. And I noticed Instagram was really pushing, short form videos, the reels. I was like, I don't have a good attention span anyway. Let's 30 seconds in and out. What's the pedal sound like? You don't know me. It doesn't matter what I think of it. Does it sound good? And that's just taken off. And it's been awesome. And it's been a really big feature for me the whole last year and a bit now.
That's pretty incredible, though, the way that's taken off that fast. Actually, I had a similar revelation, and you were part of it, seeing your short-form videos on Instagram, because I've been wanting to do demos, and it's not – actually, mine isn't as much about free gear because, honestly, I have more gear than I know what to do with, right?
Yeah.
Like, I go through that thing in my head at least once a week where I'm like, I just need to fucking sell everything. Just sell everything and keep, like, my favorite amp, my favorite 1 or 2 guitars, and my pedal board. And just, I have way too much stuff. So, like, it isn't a gear thing, but it is the community thing, and I really like seeing the new stuff. Like, I actually don't want it to keep. Like, if people do, and I've got a couple of companies that have started sending me some things, I don't want them to keep. Like, most of the time, I'm like, no, I want to try this out. I'll do a video or I'll talk about it, and I'm going to send it on because I don't need it cluttering my house.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that do that, too. I mean,
I've already invaded. Yeah, I was I'm in this room, but I also have half the other guest bedroom as well filled with stuff. It's too much.
I know. The thing is, like, I had the basement full of stuff before it even started, too, so now it's just been more, right? Like, I could have done a year worth of demos just with stuff on hand, but it's been fun to kind of network with, like, the other demo artists, brands. Like, it's been really cool. And you get to try a lot of stuff that you might necessarily wouldn't if you're just being a more conscious consumer, right? If I'm just out buying gear and spending my own money, there's going to be a point where I'm like, I don't need that 7th transparent overdrive. Like, it's getting to be a bit ridiculous, but it's really cool to be able to get your hands on something and see.
Big box delay.
Yeah, right? Like, it's a lot, but it's been really cool to try stuff.
Do I need 7 delays with... Yeah, do I need 7 delays with like 13 engines in them, and all of them have a shimmer that sounds basically the same?
Yeah,
and
which of these
there's
13
a reverse.
tape emulations is the most accurate?
Exactly. Come on. Is this really necessary? But I took it, and I actually started this week posting my... I had done a couple of demos last year just to kind of figure it out and learn some video editing skills, because ever since I started putting this out on YouTube, it's been like a major learning process. Syncing audio. What to do if you have differing bit rates in your video. By the way, the answer to that is scrap the whole damn thing. If you don't get bit rates that match, you are in so much trouble. I have several videos of the podcast on my YouTube that are just the logo that says, "I'm sorry, I could not sync this video."
I did my best.
Yeah, exactly. I did my best. Y'all, I spent 4 hours of my life trying to make this happen.
Yeah.
I had one episode where I spent way more time than I want to talk about, like going 5 and 10 seconds at a time, snipping, nudging, like, because the bitrate was so out.
Yeah.
And just trying to get it all to line up. And by the end, I was like, this is a train wreck. This is a complete and utter travesty. So I just took the good audio that I had, put it on a logo, and said, this is the podcast.
Sometimes you have to just like cut that loose. Like, okay, this is it. Because you can spend forever. I actually got really lucky. I don't know what you're using for software, but I found in Final Cut Pro on Mac, there's a synchronize feature I didn't know about for about 8 months too late. That is so amazing. Because I had the same problem. I was doing one of my guitar videos where I'm talking for 10 minutes about a guitar, and I was nudge. 2 minutes later, I'm off again. And just like, if you click them both and hit synchronize, it just does it. I was like, incredible.
See, I need to find that because I stopped using Final Cut Pro. I have it, but I'm using Premiere now because I had so many problems with syncing in, because they have that like floating grid thing where like everything is nebulous, and it's like there's no timeline here. Time is a flat circle. Just put it wherever the hell you want to put it. And it drove me crazy. And then I had Linda Taylor on the podcast last year, and she said, "Yeah, there's a synchronize function." I was like, "There's a what?" And so
I'll take some pictures after and send them your way.
Yes, please do.
Worked well.
I need to go back and try it. It'll save me money because I pay for the Adobe suite, just so I can have all. I can use Premiere Pro, essentially, is what I do.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'd love to save money and not be going into the hole every month for this podcast. It's a labor of love, though.
Yeah.
I love doing it. But yeah, so I did finally start putting out some demos this week. I've got one up for the Wampler Frustration, and I put one up for the Big Ear Woodcutter.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I saw you did the unboxing for that there. I saw that today or yesterday.
And it's, man, that's a great pedal. Everybody's been telling me, because I needed a distortion pedal and I wanted a distortion pedal. I was like, just get the Woodcutter. And Grant has been so great. I love Grant. I've known Grant. I met him at NAMM last year, and I love Grant. And I was like, why? Yeah, I'm just going to order that. And he popped up with like that tuxedo special finish where it's white with the black plate on top.
Yep.
And then he had a discount code for it too. I was like, damn it, now you got me. So that's how it works. But so I did these videos. I'm doing them like 1 to 5 minutes, zero talking. It's literally just me playing the pedal, and I'm calling them fun-sized demos.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Because they're tiny. They're little bitty. I guess that means when I do the big ones, so I'm going to have to call them king-sized.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep going with the candy bar analogies.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this is, I don't know if it's inappropriate, but I've always joked with my demos that it's like I watch gear demos the way I watch pornography, which is like, what are we doing here? A little bit of skimming, position change, money shot, next video. Like, I don't have time to watch 26 minutes of someone playing through an overdrive.
That's so perfect. But you're right. Yeah, I don't, and I talked about that too. I was talking with some of my Patreon supporters today about this format. I was getting some feedback. I was like, "What do y'all think? How are because obviously my YouTube channel, I've got a few hundred followers. It's like not a big deal. Like I'm trying to grow it, obviously, but I started this podcast not thinking I would do anything with YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So this was just going to be an audio podcast. But I asked them about it, and they were like, "Yeah, no, I like this version of demos." And I said, and I told them what I was thinking. If I want to review it, I still can, just in a different video.
Yeah.
And I call it a review and not a demo. If somebody wants to hear me wax poetic about transparent overdrives for 15 minutes, that's their video.
Yeah.
But most people don't want that.
No,
They
and
just
if
want you to
you
plug it
say
in,
anything
turn
in a
it on.
video,
What's it
people
sound
will
like?
just call you a shill or a liar, or that you're reading a script. So it's it's easier just to not talk and let the pedal do the work.
Yeah. So that's what I love about your Instagram demos. They sound great. They look great. You can tell that you pay a lot of attention to staging the video / photo. It looks really good. I'm really jealous because I cannot get that. That part I'm not good at yet.
I've been telling everyone, and it's really it's lighting. Lighting is like the biggest thing, because I've used the exact same setup almost a year now. I think the first video I did in that format was 1981, the DRV.
Oh yeah,
and that video took off. It was amazing to watch. But I've done the exact same, or attempted the exact same thing the whole time. I was messing with different lenses, or I wasn't always putting the pedal in the same spot, but the same idea for a year. And if you scroll back, I mean, not to be narcissistic, but there's been a drastic improvement in how those videos look. And it's the same camera, same settings, nothing's changed except lighting. And it makes a huge difference.
That's the part I'm going to have to get right next. That's going to be my goal.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on, though.
Sure.
So you got into this, seen a bunch of gear. So now I've got you on, and so here's where we're going to really get out there. I want to get some opinions. We're going to get some hot takes because the listeners like it when I get people to say things controversial. So if you want to shit on the PRS Silver Sky SE, this is where you do it. I'm just kidding. You don't have to shit on it. I don't even shit on it, and I don't like it. I just don't care about it.
Honestly, I still would like a regular one.
So I have this like hate relationship with PRS. I don't know what it is. So I must have just had some bad experiences with PRS, and I have. I've had some guitars I just did not like. Didn't like the way they played. Didn't like the way they sounded. And it seems like every time I pick up another PRS, it's some different version of a neck profile that I hate. And so I have let this fester, and it has just taken hold of me. And PRS guitars, I just don't like them. I do not like them. I think part of it's because of the early 2000s. Every new metal band was playing one, and I couldn't stand that shit.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
one of my best friends is all about those like early 2000s era single cuts. He goes out of his way to find old ones that are beat up, and then he'll pay Paul Reed Smith to refinish them whatever colors he would want them because he likes that spec better.
Wow.
He's got,
okay.
I think he's got about 15 or 16 of them now.
But
But it's funny because I feel the same way where it's like I've never owned one. I've played a lot of them. I used to work in a guitar store for like 7 or 8 years. Like I've been around a lot of the guitars, and to me, they've always just sounded like a guitar. I don't get a lot of personality out of them. Like my buddy's big on sync, so he's got about 30 guitars, and it's like the PRS single cuts and then a bunch of Les Pauls. And you play the PRS, and you're like, yeah, man, it sounds great. That's what I expect an electric guitar to sound like through that amp. That's cool. And then you pick up a Les Paul Custom, and you're like, oh, yeah. Like, that's got balls. And I just have never got that from a PRS. I think they're probably, like, the best fit and finish I've seen on guitars, like, consistency-wise. Incredible. But I've just never been impressed. Shouldn't say never, but almost never impressed. I played a DGT 2 years ago that I still think about, and I wish I had got because it was really good. But
DGT and the McCarty. Those are the two that actually sort of appeal to me.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to that neck profile. It isn't about the sound for me.
Yeah.
That you made a good point. They don't make a bad guitar. I'm going to give them that. Like, they are incredibly, their attention to detail's good.
Yeah.
Their guitars look great if you're into that style. I'm not, but that's okay. I don't have to like the way a guitar looks to recognize that it is attractive and well made. They just aren't for me. And so when everybody started flipping out about first of all, the Silver Sky, and now the Silver Sky SE, and I'm like, geez, it's a Strat. It is a Strat. It is a Strat. It is a Strat. I know people get mad when you say this. Hold on, I got a few more of these in me. It's a Strat. It is an S-style guitar. It is a Strat.
I will say
there are a gajillion.
It's a really nice one.
Yeah,
See, when it came out, I wanted it almost more because it was such a controversial thing. Like, everyone was hating on it, and the headstock's ridiculous. And I was like, yeah, give me that ugly motherfucker. Like, let's go. But the thing is, so we're going to talk about Strats. Here's a hot take. I don't really like Strats. I never have. And
listeners can't see, I am pointing at myself. Yeah. Don't like them.
Yeah, my very first guitar was a pawn shop copy of a Strat, and I don't know if that just set me on a path of, like, maybe it wasn't the best guitar. Never found them attractive. Couldn't stand them. Again, I worked in a music store for 8 years. I never so much as took one home to try. Like, we were allowed to loan out gear. Like, I'd take Les Pauls home all the time and, see how they were. Never once took a Strat home. And then, I have one now, and that was one of those, like, weird moments in a store where you pick something up and you go, oh, this is special. I need to have this. So I have one. It's amazing for when I want that thing. But that's another reason. Like, I wouldn't even get a Silver Sky SE. It's like, I barely play one Strat. I don't need a second one.
Yeah, I have a Strat. I've had a few Strats. Like, I just sold late last year. I had an American Pro with the rosewood neck, the all rosewood neck.
Oh, yeah. Those are cool.
Yeah, it was a good one. Daphne blue. It was pretty. It was fine. It was fine. It was fine. I have another Strat that I'm keeping. Like, I'm holding on to it. I won't get rid of it. It's got a little bit of a sentimental attachment. It was this beat up, trashed out, like 1994 made in Mexico standard Strat. That beat. It's got a chunk missing off the headstock from, who knows, it hit a cymbal at some point in the mid 2000s. I don't know. But the sentimental is, so my sister is, we talked about her. She's a guitar player. She's a black Strat player. That's her guitar. She plays a Strat Plus, one of those 90 Strat Pluses. With
lace sensor.
The whole... Yeah, exactly. The whole lace sensors, LSR roller nut, the whole 9 yards. Love that guitar. And that's a great Strat. I've played that a couple of times on gigs, and because I needed a guitar and it didn't have mine near me. But it got stolen, and she needed a guitar, and this guitar, this little Mexican Strat, was in the not pawn shop, secondhand music store, and my mom bought it for her to give her something to play, and she played it. We found her Strat.
Nice.
It's one of those miracle stories where a friend. So I had, for her birthday one year. My sister is not a girly girl. She's pretty incredible. So I thought it would be ironic at the time. I didn't realize pink was going to come into fashion, and now I kind of want a pink guitar. Actually, I have one coming. That's a whole other story. We'll talk about that one off podcast. But I bought her this awesome pink and white swirl Strat pick guard that was just hanging in a guitar store. I keep saying pawn shop. And so I put it on the guitar for her, and so she had this very distinctive looking Strat because it's black with this pink swirl pick guard. Well, it was hanging in a store an hour and a half from our hometown, and a friend of ours happened to go into that store, pawn shop, and saw it. It's like, I know that Strat. And so he called us. We called the police. We got it back. Neither here nor there. We won't go into the full details.
Yeah,
of it.
That's cool though. But doesn't happen often.
She got it back. No, it does not. We had a band trailer stolen. We never got any of that stuff back. But so my sister was not going to play this little beat up Mexican Strat anymore. So I took it. I was like, let me see what I can do with it. Had a stripped out truss rod nut, had complete craptastic pickups. Like I said, chunk missing out of the headstock. And the frets were non-existent in a couple of positions. Someone had really played this thing. So I went through all the trouble because my mom bought this for my sister. And I love my mom. My mom passed in 2020. And
sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of over the sadness and glad we won't go into that. I'm not going to depress the listeners, but thank you. So it's a little bit tied to my mom that way. It's such a minor sentimentality, right? It's such a minor thing. I got it refretted. I put a Wilkinson bridge on it. I changed the pickups out to like the 59, I think, pure vintage that Fender makes.
Oh, yeah,
By the way,
those are great.
I hate them.
Oh, you don't like them, eh?
I hate them. They're not in this guitar. They don't work. They're too bright. They're way too freaking bright. I've got to find some other pickups for this guitar. Changed out for Wilkinson vintage style tuners and all that in, and it's set up and it plays beautifully, and I hate that guitar. I put all this money into this guitar and I hate it. The neck is too thin. It's way too thin.
I've done that a couple times with guitars where I've like tried to build something and make something better, and then you get to the end and you're like, great, that's gonna sit now.
Yep. Oh, great, that's a guitar.
But it's funny you mentioned that, like that sentimental thing too, because I have that first Strat I got. My grandfather bought it for me, and somewhere when I started, when I got my next guitar, my mom made me give that to my brother, and he never really played. I don't think he looked after it, but I never even thought about it. It was just gone to me, and that was fine. But last year, my grandfather passed away, and it was like, I want that guitar. I was like, where'd you put that thing? Where is it? He's like, I think I left it at a buddy's house a few years ago. I was like, you got to find that thing. Like, I want it. I'm going to do all that same stuff. We're going to fretting it. Yep. We're going pickups. We're doing the whole thing, and it's probably still going to be shitty when it's done, but I want to do it. So I'm hoping I can get my hands on that soon.
Oh, that would be very cool. It's funny we put that sentimentality on inanimate objects like guitars, especially guitars.
Yeah.
I find that we don't get sentimental about pedals and amps as much as we do guitars. You ever notice that?
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Like we name guitars, we don't name amps.
Yeah, amps and pedals for me have always been very like utility. I look at them like tools, and the minute it's not getting used, I just see a dollar sign.
Yeah.
And so I'll go through lots of phases like that where it's like, I have 5 or 6 amps. And it's like, no, we only need one, and everything goes. And then I start buying up a few more things, and then wait, am I doing? No, it's all gone. Same with pedals. There's always this big turnover happening, and in guitars, it's not as common. I spent a lot of time buying and trading up to where I'm at now, and now I can't see anything leaving, but.
I'm at that point. I'm trying to think, do I have anything that is a potential? I have one guitar that I thought at some point last year was something that I could unload and sell, get rid of. Ended up not being able to sell it. And so it's the, actually, if anybody has seen some of my Instagram, it's the Les Paul, the burst Les Paul that I've got, traditional. I changed out the pots on it to get rid of, it had those push-pull phase. It did the coil split phase and did parallel and series.
One of the standards, probably like 2012 era, something like that.
Yeah, it's a 2013 Traditional Pro 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Traditional Pros had there's Traditional Pro 2, 3.
Yeah,
4,
we didn't
5.
Get those in Canada. I think they were like
good.
Guitar Center things.
Yeah, so it's like Traditional Pro 2 is like a regular Les Paul, except that it's weight relieved. So it's lighter.
Yeah.
And there may not have been a 3, but there was a 4. That's the one I've got, non-weight relieved, but it was pro in that it had coil taps for each humbucker. It had a boost on the bridge tone. Was a pull 6 decibel boost.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember they were doing some stuff like that on some of the classics too. At one point, like a toggle switch.
Oh, yeah, those 2015s. That's a whole other ball game.
Yeah.
2015 was a dumpster fire.
That was my second last year at the music store.
That was if you've seen it, that's the Rhett Scholl video where he did whole Gibson "What Are You Doing" thing.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
One of my
That was when they
moments.
renamed. Well, I was gonna say that's when they renamed, like the traditional became what the standard was, and the standard they only issued in like crazy finishes, dip switches inside of it. It was this monstrosity, and they priced it up to like $3,600.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the 15-16 was such a weird. One of my favorite moments of the store is like we had. I don't think he worked for Gibson, but he would have been the Gibson distributor in Canada, one of their sales reps. And he comes into the store, and like our location was a big Gibson dealer. Like we sold more Gibsons than just about anywhere else in the country. And he's talking to me. He's like, how do you feel about these new features? What do you think? Robotic tuner is pretty cool, right? And I was like, I don't think it's smart, but they're doing it. And he goes, no. And there was 2 kids in the room, and one was playing one, and he's showing his buddy these tuners that tune themselves. And the buddy's losing his mind. He's like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. And this rep goes, see? He loves it. And he goes, excuse me, you like that feature? Would you buy that guitar? And he goes, oh, I don't even play. He goes, oh, okay. And he goes he looks at the kid playing and goes, would you buy that? He goes, no, it's dumb as fuck. And I just looked at him and was like, told you.
Exactly. It's interesting. I will give it that. It's interesting, but to make it standard on your flagship model,
yeah, it was
hell no.
It's weird. Yeah, they went all in. 2015 was like, let's just change everything and not even give you the option. They made the necks wider.
Yeah,
which was and they had that crazy nut.
They managed to screw up the headstocks too. Do you remember those? Because it was their 100th anniversary.
Oh yeah, the LP one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they put that. It looked like a 5-year-old in crayon wrote it on the headstock. I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever. Like, it's literally watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Oh yeah, I remember like our head office ordered as much of the old 2014s, 13s as they could get, and we were like, let's just hope this gets us through the year.
Absolutely, and see that was where I was like, well, I'm never owning a new Gibson again. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then
guess it's going to be custom shop.
Yeah, and then 2019 happened, and the moment they reverted everything back to the specs and dropped the price and had the standard be a standard, I ordered one because that was what I wanted. I wanted a legit, the way it should be Les Paul.
Yeah. See, I don't think I've played any new ones for probably 3 or 4 years now. Because I got out of the guitar store, and I think it was part of that issue of like seeing behind the curtain and knowing what like cost on things was, and then seeing the prices go up over the years. It's really messed with my brain. I can't buy new gear anymore because I just see like I know what I could have got it for.
Yeah, well, yeah, I look at some new gear and I'm like, okay, we'll talk about this one. So I just ordered. So I'm on this like weird like backwards progression in gear. Last year was it had been building up. Into like 2016, 2017, 2018, I'd been playing a lot of church gigs, 2019, and a lot of musicals, a lot of show choirs, and so pedal board kept getting bigger and bigger, and in 2019 I bought a Helix, and like, so I'm getting in like this crazy like switcher pedal board, 80-pound monstrosity thing. And, 2020 happened, and none of those kinds of gigs were happening anymore. And then I started to look at my stuff, and I was like, why? And so started to trim down. Now I'm down to, like, a pretty small pedal board. I have a small pedal board, like a Nano Plus. That's I change stuff out all the time pedal board. And then, like, my steady, like, this is my gig pedal board, has, what have I got on there? If you count the tuner, I have 8 pedals on it. But if you don't count the tuner, it's 7.
That's a
pretty
very healthy board size.
Right. And I mean, it's got, don't get me wrong, I don't play in churches anymore, and I still have the Strifecta because I like those pedals. They're good. But now I'm on this, like, I had this opportunity this past week to buy back a piece of gear that I used to have. It's a Leslie Model 16 rotating speaker cabinet. And it's what became the Vibratone. Or actually, people say became. I think they were developed at the same time.
Okay.
Both of them came out in 67, right? So I think it was just Leslie had the Model 16, Fender had the Vibratone, and Cordavox had 2 letters and a number that I can't remember.
Yeah, and they're probably all the exact same thing or pretty close.
All the same thing, except for the cosmetics on the outside. So I bought one that was beat to shit. I rehabbed it, worked on the motors, got it running, fixed the cosmetics as best I could. Still don't have a badge for it. Cannot find a Leslie badge for anything. And then decided, oh, this is too big. This is too much trouble to haul around. I'm going to sell it. Dumb. So I spent the next, 2 years regretting that decision, looking for another one. And I was like, why don't I just message the guy that bought it? So I messaged him. He said, yeah, I was actually thinking about selling it. How much did I buy it from you for?
Oh, perfect.
and I told him, and he was like, oh, well, I'll take. And he took $50 less than what he bought it for. And I was like, yeah. So I got that. Now I'm on this train. I currently have a tube tape Echo on its way to me. So I'm making, instead of pedalboard, I've decided to make the most inconvenient rig possible. Yeah. I'm going to have head 212, giant rotating speaker cab, a tape Echo.
It's like every roadie's worst nightmare. Lookout world.
My own worst nightmare. It's going to be awesome.
Fill up the whole caravan just for your rig.
Oh yeah, no. When I start doing gigs again, because it's already started to be on the horizon a little bit. Things are, it was. Now it's down, and we'll see. Who knows? But it's like, no, I have to take my own car just for my gear. Y'all have to drive too. We can't ride together because there's no room for you.
So awesome.
So it's awesome, but it's dumb. It is dumb, but I love it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so old school. Now I'm going backwards with gear. Guitar-wise, I guess I'm going forward. I'm trying to remember how we got here. I don't remember where I had a point, and then I meandered.
We were going for hot takes, and we went through Gibson and PRS, and we ended here.
Well, that's the hot takes. I mean, that makes sense, right? Those are your 2 big hot take brands.
Yeah. Gibson had a really weird
I guess we could hot
Airman.
take on Fender.
I don't like Strats. There we go. We talked about Strats.
That's true, man. We're covering all the bases. So, for you said, so this is where I get to finally figure out. You had my listeners know that I preach at the Church of Novo. And
okay.
You had a Novo.
I did.
And you have gotten rid of your Novo.
I did.
So let's talk about that decision.
Yeah, that was an interesting one because I bought that pretty early in the pandemic last year. And I bought it used. I didn't spec it out. It wasn't like I ordered it or had that in mind. It came up locally right around the time my tax return came in. And the guy was really willing to take trades. He was like, if I can sell other stuff. So I took this guy, I think a box, 7 or 8 pedals, all high-end stuff, bit of my tax return. And I bought that guitar. I'm like, because you never see them. I knew the wait list was getting long. And especially up here in Canada, it's like, I'm not going to find one hanging around. And this guy's an hour away. Let's go get it. And I loved, I still love that guitar. It's an excellent instrument. And I played that almost exclusively through 2020. And then I got my Frank Brothers build at the beginning of 2021.
That's
and
a
that
gorgeous
guitar
guitar, by
has
the
just
way.
been thank you, has been 95% of the time I play guitar, I sit down and pick that up. And then I started just kind of looking at the rack, and I've got a very varied collection. I think everything has its purpose, has its sonic thing. I've got the Strat, I've got the Tele, I got the Les Paul 355, Jazzmaster. Every slice of a sound, I can get it. And the Novo for me wasn't sticking out in its own way.
Okay.
It just didn't have it played better than my Jazzmaster by a long shot, but my Jazzmaster is way more unique if I'm sitting down and throwing it in a mix and recording something with it. And then I started toying with the idea with the Novo where, they were going up in value. People are paying more than what the retail is on them.
Yeah, it's wild.
So I said, you know what? I've got a kid coming in May, which is going to be
congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you. And so my thing was, you know what? I'm going to get rid of it while the numbers, like while they're worth what they are, I'm going to tuck that aside as a little emergency fund that I hope I don't have to touch, because when I know I don't have to touch it, I'm probably going to order another one and spec it up myself.
There you go.
Because my Nova was great, but man, that was a lot of gold on it. A lot of gold.
That's right, it was.
Like
I remember that now.
It's cool. I guarantee you it's not what I would have spec'd out from the factory myself.
Yeah. I love the guitars they're making. I love what they're doing. They're going to be announcing some new models here real soon.
Yeah, I heard. I guess like if they've teased the Idris or Idris or however it's going to be.
Yeah. I think it's Idris. I think. They have hinted. So they have a podcast. They have the Novo Show, I think is what they call it. There's a podcast. And I listened to it, and they've hinted at a couple of things. They've definitely said they're going to start doing some different wood combinations and not just the tempered pine. And one of them that was said was a mahogany and maple combination.
Okay. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so we'll see what that brings. They said they're going to put out another Strat-style trim guitar.
Yeah.
So because they discontinued their Ceres S, which is bad for me because I really want one. That's the Strat I want.
Hopefully this new one, floats the boat.
See. Yeah, it's cool thing. It's a cool thing, but it's such a weird world in guitars now. It's like, I've talked about this on the podcast in the past, so listeners, I apologize for the repetition, but there are so many boutique makers out there and like small builders.
It's overwhelming.
Frank Brothers. Yeah, I've only recently discovered Josh Williams guitars.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
look amazing.
That stuff that they're putting out are incredible. It's like, how do you just pick one?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there's just so many, and if you've got they're not cheap guitars. If you've got the money to spend, I don't know. It can be hard to commit to something you've never had a chance to try. And like these guitars, it's not like you can go to Guitar Center, or if you're in Canada, like Long and McQuaid is our big chain. You can't just go and try these things out. And that was part of the reason I bought that Nova, was for me. I was like, I've always thought they look cool. There's one used. I don't love it, but I'm going to go buy it because now I'm going to know if I want to drop $4,000 down the road, I'm going to be happy with the product. So, I don't even know how to drop the money on some of the stuff that's out there. There's so much.
Yeah, I'm looking at things out there. I spec'd out I was looking at Wide Sky guitars.
Oh, beautiful.
So expensive out there.
Yeah.
A mule. I really want a mule resonator.
Yeah.
But that's a whole lot of coin to drop on a guitar that wouldn't be my main instrument ever.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
so.
There's a lot of stuff like that. I would love Bunting. I love those guitars. Their builds look amazing. Yeah. And see, I got lucky because I had a point mid 2020 where I had a nice little cash influx, and I was like, okay, I had been planning on it for a while. It was work stuff, whatever, back pay, contract stuff. But I told my wife for a long time, if we get this money before we get married, then that goes to our honeymoon. If it comes after, that's a new guitar. And that was the deal we made, and I was so happy. We got married. I haven't seen that check yet. Like, all right, what are we doing? So I spent, a year just...
When you're pushing up the wedding date.
Yeah. Why don't we just do it tomorrow? Why don't we just go to City Hall, right?
It'll be fine.
Yeah, and I just kept looking around. And that's where with Frank Brothers, they were one of the brands that I was really into, found them online. But I was lucky enough that I lived half an hour away. So I could go down to the shop, I could try a few builds, and then I could at least feel a little more comfortable, putting down money on a guitar I've never seen. Because that was the first guitar I've ever bought, sight unseen, no idea what I'm getting. All right, everything else in the collection's always been, I've tried it in a store, I've fallen in love. This was the first, custom build. Hopefully it turns out, whatever I have in my brain, what I'm expecting,
That was the Novo for me, because I had, it's one thing. I've ordered guitars online, like for example the Les Paul.
Yeah.
I know what a Les Paul feels like, right? And like I ordered it from Sweetwater. I called my rep. I gave him this whole spiel about, look, it needs to be under this weight. It needs to be in one of these finishes. It needs to be the 50s neck, and I need you to go play them, and you just find the one that feels the best, and that's the one you send me. And that's what he did. He went and spent an hour playing every guitar in those qualifications.
See, that's awesome. And that's almost like
almost
like you're shopping in a store, just the internet helping. It's a little less faceless than just like buy now, hope it turns out nice.
But the Novo was very much. I played one in like 2016. I think it was 2016. It may have been 2017 at Chicago Music Exchange. I was in Chicago. We went by the store. I had never seen one before, and I decided to check it out. And I did, and I loved the guitar, but I also didn't love the $4K price tag on it. You know what I mean? That's a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And so then I had to sit and watch Rhett Scholl play that freaking guitar all the time.
So good. I feel bad because if I was going to order one, I kind of want that, but I feel
they
like
said that's one of their most popular combos.
It's not surprising. It's gorgeous.
Finish. Yeah, it is. It's gorgeous. And I went very left field. They said they had not done one. They probably still haven't with the combination of things that I got on mine. Like the whole gold over sunburst. They've done a couple of those, but they had not done with the torque guard or with cream plastic. And so it was like very much they had not done that before. But
it's always a nice feeling.
It was one. Oh, yeah. And I knew I liked the neck of the one in Chicago, or at least that's what my memory told me when I placed the order. So it's really nerve-wracking to spend that much money on a guitar and not know exactly what you're getting until it's there.
Yeah.
Until it's paid for and done. It's a stressful proposition to buy custom instruments.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really putting a lot of faith in people, right? I mean, at this point, there's enough information out there. You get an idea that they're not screwing around. They're building good instruments, but you personally don't know until it's there, and it might not be your thing. Right? It's a gamble every time.
It's tough. But of course, now we're living in a world where that's what everyone has to do. Going to music stores is not the easiest proposition anymore. And it's wild. And it would have made sense, and it has, that guitar pedals took off or guitar amps took off. But the fact that guitar sales as well have just taken off, and not just the budget brands, not just the Squiers and the Epiphones and the insert affordable guitar here that they mass produce. What did Taylor say? Baby Taylors are sold out until like 2024.
Wow.
They've taken as many orders as they can put out for the next 3-4 years.
It's wild.
But Baby Taylor.
It's not really surprising to me because you got to figure, for every person that's negatively affected with the situation, the pandemic closures, there's a lot of people that are in better situations, either haven't been affected at all, but now you're not commuting to work, you're saving gas, you're not going on vacation, that disposable income fund's getting bigger. So like I kind of see it. It makes sense. You're sitting at home, you're bored. I did. I mean, my work was doing a rotation. They were doing 4 weeks off. 2 weeks off, 4 weeks on, kind of thing. Just rotating through staff so everyone could kind of stay away from people. And man, every time I was home for 2 weeks, I was buying up pedals left and right. I'm like, I'm getting paid right now. Yes. Sitting here. Yeah, let's check out this. Whatever. Yeah.
It's everyone's so bad.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Everyone's situation is different. So I think there's a lot of money that people have that's floating around. I'm not surprised to see stuff blowing up sales wise.
Yeah, that's it. It's not a surprise. My surprise was to see the higher end stuff. That's what really, like, using Novo. At some point, my listeners are going to get tired of me talking about them. I promise. I know, but. Like, they would post new guitars that are, they take orders. Well, sometimes, maybe a guitar gets finished and the person decided they didn't want to buy it. Now they lose their deposit, but they don't want to pay the rest of it. So that guitar goes up for sale. They're going to sell that guitar. Or, they do the Signature Series where they're making them specifically to put them up for sale. There was a stretch there for months where they would post at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, and they would be sold out by 10:01
Oh yeah,
Thursday morning.
before 30 seconds. I would try and
Yeah,
buy
it
them
was
just
gone.
for kicks. Like I can't afford them, but I would just try and get it in my cart to see if I could. It was just like it was like a little like game for myself. I was like, oh, could I have bought this one?
I think there's a lot of people who bought them like that.
Yeah.
It was a game just to see if they could. I don't know what it's like to have that kind of money.
No, neither do I.
To actually push the buy button. Like, on some of those guitars were hella expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what it's like to flippantly drop $5,000 on a
No,
guitar.
anytime I've ever done it, it's been a long and winding road to that point.
Yeah.
Or I've sold a
exactly.
lot of gear the day before. Like,
Okay, I may have to slightly take that back because I can hear one of my Patreon supporters yelling at me. Yes, I did impulsively buy a 2-rock. I did impulse buy a 2-rock. But
yeah.
I did promptly start selling things to pay for it.
Yeah, see, I'm really bad with. I've pulled this move a few times over the years where I get an offer. There's something I want, and it's just out there teasing me, and then Visa goes, "Hey, you know what? We could up that limit if you want." And I go, "You know what? I'm going to take advantage of that, order that thing I can't afford, and then I'll just sell a bunch of stuff, and it'll all even out." And I've almost never evened out. I always am like, "Oh wow, that Visa's getting pretty high. Oh shit."
Yeah. The tape delay that I have on the way right now is a similar situation. I'd been looking for one, and I actually, I'd figured out how I could afford one, right? Like, I wasn't just flippantly spending the ridiculous money, and now I remember how we got here. The ridiculous money that they're costing now, even used. And so that deal fell through. I bought one on Reverb, and the seller said, "Hey man, I'm out of town." When I bought it, he accepted an offer. He said, "I'm out of town. When I get back on Sunday, I'm going to pack it up, get it out to you the next week." Well, I got a message on Sunday. He refunded me, said, "Hey dude, my house was broken into and a ton of my gear's stolen, including the tape echo."
Oh, brutal.
So, yeah, it's brutal. And I've had people be like, "Nah, dude, he just had seller's remorse." You know what? I'm going to take him for his word because I have had gear stolen. I had that trailer stolen, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks. And so I don't know one way or the other, and the last thing I need to do is tell someone who just got broken into that he's a liar, because that's just evil.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
do
you
that.
just kind of eat it and keep an eye for
Yeah,
the next one.
I got my money back. Well, I got another deal that was more expensive, but like he had an older version of the full tone tube tape echo, but he had it updated to the current version, like had the buffers put in that are a switchable buffer. He's got a Pelican hard case for it. He's got like 3 or 4 extra tape cartridges and a bunch of other like extras for it. And so I was like, "Oh, this is such a good deal. What can I sell?" And so I looked around, and I've actually managed to make it work. But yes, that's actually where I was gonna go 30 minutes ago. That I guess we'll just have to go in the Patreon episode. Is the price difference in gear, because I was talking to someone else about these tube tape echoes, and I'm like, 3.5 years ago they were $800 and $900 used.
Oh yeah.
Now they are $1,500 to $1,800 new. Used.
It's crazy, and it's not even just used stuff. It's like new inflation, new products. Because companies like to put their stuff up 5-10% every year anyway. Like, you've got that Isbell Telly. I've got one on order. That guitar, like, that was a tough one for me to wrap my head around, because we also have our dollar's, I think, like 30 cents less than yours right now. So that sucks, right? Like, our price tag, you look at $1,500, I'm looking at $2,000. And that was one where I'm like, I sold, and I remember 2012, I was selling American Standard Strats and Tellys every day of the week for $9.99. That was the new Canadian dollar price. It's $1,000 for an American Standard. And now I'm like, this is $2,000, and I don't even get a hard case. Like,
right?
And it was like such a mind trip. Like, this is made in Mexico, no case, and this is double what I used to sell American guitars for. This is crazy. So I'm hoping it's really good.
It's incredible. Now, I got lucky. I bought mine used on the gear page, and the guy who sold it to me was selling it with a hard shell case, so I have a hard shell case for mine. But yeah, it was perfect.
See, that's funny. That's the kind of thing that in my head I complain about, like, oh, it doesn't have a hard shell case, but I'm never going to leave my basement with it, so it doesn't matter. But it's the kind of thing I'm like,
Well,
oh.
it was like I used to be like that, but I also bought a $3,800 Novo that came with a gig bag. You know what I mean? It's like the Novo came with a gig bag. It was the $300 upcharge for the case.
Yeah.
Because their cases are fantastic.
They look nice. I had an even cheaper bag. I don't know which one you've got, but now they do mono. The one I had was a gray branded Novo bag. It wasn't a mono. So it wasn't quite that level of quality.
I think those are mono bags, though, but I think they're branded mono bags.
No, yeah. It was definitely a lower amount of
quality.
Yeah, I have a regular mono Vertigo I bought just for rehearsals and stuff like that. They were not the same level. But
yeah, mine came with the M80.
Yeah, those are the nice.
I don't know, Sir. Have you talking about inflation and price of gear, which this is a big deal. So we've been talking about this in my Discord. Not the Patreon Discord, the podcast Discord, which you do not have to be a Patreon supporter to join. It's on our link tree. You can find the links below. Have you seen the price on a Fender Deluxe Reverb reissue?
You know what?
Have you seen the new price?
I did. One of my old sales reps just posted something on Facebook this week about it, and I think up here they're pushing $2,000 Canadian now.
Yeah. They're $1,700 US for a PC board reissue.
I had one that I bought used for $500 Canadian dollars.
I've told this story before, but you'll appreciate it. I had one that I bought. Actually, I traded for back in 2018. Right? Had speaker upgrade. It was great. It had the Cannabis Rex in there, which is a great speaker. Even though I like Alnico Jensen's, even the new ones, I still think the new ones are really good. And if I'd kept it, I would have ended up changing it. But I sold it on Reverb, shipped it out to Ohio, shipped it out, and it got there, and UPS had dropped it on a corner, split one of the corners of the cabinet. It was a mess. It was a mess getting it back to me. It was a mess getting that whole thing sorted out, right? So I'm out the sale. I did get refunded from insurance the shipping cost that I'd paid, so I was ultimately out zero, except now I've got a broken amplifier.
Yeah.
Right? So I take it out to my shop. Luckily the corner wasn't completely split, so I re-glue, reset, strap it down. I reinforce with some L brackets that corner. I test the amp itself. It works perfectly. No issues electronically. The PC board was perfect. So I get it all pieced back together, right? And working. I actually used some fingernail polish on the corner so that you couldn't see the seam where it was torn. It was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. On stage, it looks like a fine, just nothing wrong amplifier. But it was broken, and I resigned myself that I'm never going to get value out of this amp except to play it. Well, then the price started to go up. And then I was
now you're probably making money on the thing.
Yeah. I was like, it's going up, it's going up, it's going up. You know what? I'm going to put it back on Reverb, disclose all of this, full disclosure, no secrets, not pulling the wool over anybody. It sold in 3 days for more as a formerly broken amp than the first time I sold it as a pristine amp.
It's crazy right now looking at the numbers for stuff. It's terrifying.
Yeah. It is absolutely terrifying how expensive things are getting. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I've got a room full of great gear, and I'm scared to sell any of it now because I could not afford to buy this back.
Yeah, and that's been a big factor for me in a lot of stuff where I go, I don't really use this all that much, but I'm like, I only paid this, and I'll never get a chance to have it again for that.
Exactly.
Ever.
I'll never be able to get it at that price point again.
Yeah, because I've gotten really lucky. I mean, I have a pretty nice collection of guitars, and there's a lot of things where I look at what I paid now and see what they're worth, and it's like, well, I did very well on a lot of guitars. Just a matter of finding good deal. I mean, some of it was back from my Les Paul was the last thing I bought before I quit my job at the music store, so I had my employee discount, got my receipt, gave them my 2 weeks notice.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so things like that where I look at what I paid for that. It's a custom shop Les Paul at the time. I think they were selling for about $5,000 Canadian. And I think my discount was $3,500. And now I see them and they're $7,500. And you're like, ooh.
Yeah,
okay.
they're so expensive right now. I've resigned myself to the fact I do technically own a custom shop, Gibson. I've got a custom shop. It's the ES137 custom, which technically was done by the custom shop.
Yeah.
I've got that one. I could never afford to buy that guitar again today.
Yeah.
Like that's gotten so expensive.
Oh, my entire rack of stuff I could not come close to again.
Yeah.
Like, either just because the deals I got or the prices have gone up.
Yeah, and I did that video with the like 6 guitars, same riff thing that I did on Instagram and TikTok. And I had one guy who was like, "Oh, this was just a flex to show all your super expensive guitars that nobody can afford." I'm like, I can't afford these now. Like, there's no way I could have bought these guitars. And also, I'm just going to be really honest. One of those is a SG Special with a repaired headstock and a $400 Mexican Strat. You know what I mean? Those weren't
social
all
media.
expensive
This
guitars.
is where you're supposed to flex. I made a joke.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's Oh, good.
No, I was gonna say I made a
jokes.
a joke reel on Instagram not too long ago about not being able to play or something like that. Like just a little like joke about not knowing theory or something like that. And one of the comments was like, "You're telling me you've got 2 expensive guitars and you don't know how to play?" And I was like, "Well, actually, I've got 8 really expensive guitars and I don't know how to play."
I love it.
If we're gonna talk shit, let's get the facts straight.
Right. If you're going to talk shit, I need you to understand the depth of shit you need to talk to be
We're
real
knee deep
here.
over here.
Oh yeah. So I've been ramping up my TikTok, and I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be a good content creator and actually put Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and screw Facebook and Twitter exists somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, my Twitter is so pitiful. But trying to do all these things, but then I see things like, then I start getting some of the comments, and sometimes it's not even the comments I get. Like, one today set me off, and if I had not been at work and busy, I might have made like multiple TikToks replying to this one mother that decided to comment on. Do you know Emily from Get Offset?
Yes. Yep.
So. Had Emily on the podcast before. I love Emily.
Oh, was this? I think I know the comment you're about to reference.
Yeah. So some asshole decided to comment on one of her TikTok videos that, no one cares about the opinions of female guitarists, right?
Yeah,
it's
insane.
like, oh my God, I have done really well on TikTok because I'm trying. Well, maybe I should get controversial if I want to grow it.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to just be music content, right? And not like really get digging in yet. But I almost broke that rule. I almost like.
I think for some,
really,
that's one of those things. I'm not on right now. My TikTok exists as just I post the same video over there, and hopefully it does well. And they never do. Instagram's been far better for me. But yeah, seeing the stuff like that Emily and a lot of female creators I interact with get is crazy, and it's insane if you watch some of the stuff you see. And I don't understand the mentality that people have where like that's even like remotely acceptable to put out there. Like, yeah, it's disgusting.
It's absolutely, and it just infuriates me, and it makes me not want to do it anymore. It makes me want to just stay away from the whole shitstorm. Just get off of it. Just make my podcast, and that's what I do. But I know that has become part of it. And there was someone who put out a TikTok recently that said, do any of my musician friends feel a little bitter? I'm going to have to paraphrase because I don't remember the exact thing they said. But do you feel a little bitter that we've had to become not just musicians, but videographers, photographers, content creators? We've had to learn to do all of this because that's what it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm real bitter.
That is one of the things I will tell a lot of people is if you haven't done this kind of stuff, I don't think you really appreciate how much work goes into it. And like not just trying to like, fluff up my own ego for like the work I do, but like anyone you watch, whether it's YouTube and like it is crazy. And every little thing, every part of a video you watch is something that somewhere else in the industry someone does as their single job. Like there's just audio engineers, just cinematographers, just editors, And if someone wants to excel,
just the person who makes the YouTube thumbnail graphic.
Exactly, yeah, graphic designers. So it's like just to expect, if you want to excel in these fields, you have to know all of that and reasonably well. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And like, I'm still trying to figure out music theory. And now I haven't figured out playing the guitar part yet. Now I'm still like, okay, like it's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So I really respect when I see the guys that are there every week with a 20-minute YouTube video. I can't, like, I try to do one a month this year and I'm 5 months behind. Like,
or like someone like Ryan Burke who puts out a 20-minute video every day.
It's
you know what I mean?
It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's wrap this conversation up, and we're going to segue very nicely over into the Patreon episode of the podcast. Listeners, you know how you can find the Patreon content. You heard it at the beginning of the show, so links are down below. I think we've got a couple of things we can talk about. I want you to give some tips, because I know that I have some listeners and I have some Patreon supporters who are looking to start doing a little bit of demo stuff. They want to sort of like get into the culture and do a little bit of this. Let's throw some tips at them for brand new, getting started, what they're doing. And also, I want to pick your brain because you've played a lot of pedals last year.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people's best of 2021. I want to know what you think the best of last year's pedals were.
Okay.
So let's talk about that in the Patreon episode.
I'm down for that. There was a lot.
There was a whole lot.
I think I did 41 demo videos.
Ooh.
And actually, I think it was 41 that were like sent by a brand to demo. I think I still threw in a few that were like from the collection. So yeah, I played a lot of stuff last year. It was crazy.
Well, we're going to talk all about that over in Patreon. Listeners, I appreciate you hanging out, just having conversation with us, me getting salty, which is pretty much par for the course. Do all the things like subscribe, bell icon, rate, review. I can never remember all these things, y'all. I don't have a script. I'm not good at this. But in the meantime, y'all go on. Hope we catch you on the Patreon supporter. If not, we'll catch you next week. And in the meantime, be good to yourselves, be kind to each other, and try to make some noise.